Frizzle Fellowship. In 4 words, the Rarkyn's familiar is magical mates without romance. So you know the trope in fantasy romance, particularly like paranormal and fae-ish romance, where you have a mate that you're kind of destined to be with, and oftentimes you have some sort of psychic connection with said mate. Now, I'm not insulting that trope because I do love it and I've seen it done well so many times because I do think it often creates really interesting relationships. So if you're the type of person that loves that trope, you'll probably love this book. But if you're also the type of person that thinks it's kind of cheap with that trope and you don't like how it leads to insta-love, I think you will still like this book. Because this is a book where they have a magical bond, but it's not a romantic one. And it's a kind of enemies to allies to friends instead of enemies to lovers kind of situation. You know what I mean? And I will sing the praises of this book forever. Because 1, I just really loved it and it deserves it. But 2, who else is going to toot the horn of this book? Because it's an indie published first novel of this author. And it's hard for those kind of books to get the press that they often deserve, and this book certainly deserves it, so if you're interested, please go check it out. One of the main characters of this book is 𝐿𝐻𝐻𝐿. I don't know if that's how you pronounce the name, but they said it was guttural, so I feel like we need to get a glottal stop in there, you know what I mean? And 𝐿𝐻𝐻𝐿 is a Rarkyn, which is a magical bird person who lives part-time in another dimension. And 𝐿𝐻𝐻𝐿 accidentally gets bonded with Lys, our other protagonist. And she is an apprentice sorceress. So usually when a sorceress would bond to a Rarkyn, the Rarkyn would be the sorceress's familiar and under their power, which doesn't always work out, but that would be the intention. But this magical bonding is completely unintentional on both of their parts and happens accidentally because their blood gets mixed. They're trying to kill each other at the time, you know, as you do. And because Lys is honestly a pretty bad sorceress, things go wrong enough that she ends up becoming the Rarkyn's familiar instead. And here we come to the first really clever and awesome thing that this book does, which is we get to start in 𝐿𝐻𝐻𝐿's perspective. This is a Rarkyn. This is a bird man that all the humans are terrified of because of his prodigious magic. And I feel like the average book would have started in Lys's perspective, so we could have started with the more normal world and then slowly gotten introduced to the interesting Rarkyn culture. But instead, we start with 𝐿𝐻𝐻𝐿's perspective. And I think this is brilliant in a way to humanize him. Because if our first impression of 𝐿𝐻𝐻𝐿 had been from Lys's perspective, where he is a terrifying demon, then this book would have gotten quite a different cast to their relationship. But because we start with 𝐿𝐻𝐻𝐿's perspective instead, where he is terrified, running away from a wizard that has imprisoned him for years, highly traumatized, and just trying to get away from everything, then we know his motivations from the get-go. And we know that he isn't malicious, he is fighting for his life when they get into this confrontation. And we also know how much he does not want to be bonded to a human magic user, because he already has enough emotional baggage in that realm. And then the next brilliant thing that this book did comes in one of the other point of view characters. We've got 𝐿𝐻𝐻𝐿 the Rarkyn, we've got Lys the human girl, and we also have the villain. And the cleverest thing is that we don't get the villain's introduction with him doing something terribly evil. We get the villain's introduction through a very cute, loving, and reasonable letter to his daughter. And then pages later you realize that he's the villain of the story. And yes, and I don't think we're exactly supposed to root for him, but giving him this sympathetic edge and showing us that he does have some redeeming qualities, like the love for his daughter, does make his chapters a lot easier to get through. And even if this isn't a character that we're rooting for, I do think all of his chapters perform a wonderful service to the narrative in upping the stakes for our heroes, because we see as the villain is chasing them and laying traps for them, how much danger they are in, even if they don't know it yet. We know exactly how close they are to getting caught in every chapter. And through the villains chapters, we also get greater insight into the world building and the magic rules of this world. I haven't always loved villain POVs in the past, but this one, yes, totally deserved, definitely made the story better. And the next brilliant thing that this book did was the way that this magical bond between 𝐿𝐻𝐻𝐿 and Lys helped both of their emotional character arcs. 𝐿𝐻𝐻𝐿 because he was captured by that human wizard for years and was physically separated from his people. And Lys, on the other hand, has separated herself from human society mostly by choice, because she is so bent on killing her father's murderer, and that is her only priority in life. Neither of them wanted to have a magical feelings and thoughts bond with someone else, and yet now they do. And they also suddenly have a common goal, which is find someone who can undo this thing. And they also have a common countdown, because their bond is so messed up, it's likely to drive both of them insane before long. So the stakes are high, the goals are set and specified, and also the emotional goals are set, because they both have all of this emotional baggage towards working together with other people, towards making bonds with people, and them bonding together on their quest and forming a tight friendship where they can emotionally support each other is what helps both of them heal through their past trauma, which is just adorable to see. I love also that they have such a trouble with communication at the beginning because they don't really speak each other's language either. So they have to really work to get to know each other, to understand across the cultural barriers, to understand across the communication barriers, to really understand each other in a way that they can actually work together and then slowly come to care for each other. And through that friendship bond, being able to heal both of their feelings of isolation. So the pacing of this book was fantastic. Like I said, there is a nice ticking time bomb engine of this will probably drive us mad, and also the very defined quest of we need to find someone in this city to erase this bond. And also the world building is top-notch. There's many different magic systems, there's many different cultures and different racial ethnic groups in this world. And there are quite a lot of pseudo swear words that are created for this book. Honestly, that is a complaint. I would say there were a little too many new words because sometimes that got a little confusing. But it was also interesting to see that people from different cultures used different swear words. So it was charming anyway. I rated this book 4 stars. And thank you for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, comment with a bird emoji in honor of our beautiful Rarkyns.